Alright, Brush Monkeys, we are back, and this week we are continuing our look at the Wizard's Chamber box set from Grenadier Miniatures. Back in the day, this week we are painting another quick, easy paint. It's going to be the Lizard Familiar, the Reptile Familiar. This is another difference between the Wizard's Chamber and the earlier Wizard's Room set. They resculpted the Reptile Familiar and added another thing of treasure urns. I'm not sure why they resculpted the Lizard Familiar, but here we are. This is going to be a really quick, easy paint. It's going to be mostly speed paints, orc flesh green, pallid bone for the little ridges in his claws and this bone that he's chewing on, Black Legion for the base, and a little bit of dry brushes, Niblet green for the lizard, Dawnstone for the base. His eyes are going to be yellow, and yeah, so that's going to be a pretty quick and easy little paint job. I'm not anticipating this really taking a whole long time, but we'll see. So I'm going to go ahead and pause here and get started, and then we'll come back and see how he looks. See you in a bit. Bye. Alright, so I started painting our little lizard friend here, and I realized there are some parts that I hadn't really taken into account. His mouth is a little bit open, and he's got some teeth in there, and for his tongue sticking out a little bit. So for his tongue, I've got Murderous Magenta and Druchii Violet Wash, and I'll probably highlight it with a little Murderous Magenta. His teeth are all going to be ivory. This horn and the frill and the spines along his back were going to be pallid bone, but I decided I wanted to differentiate them from the actual bone here, and he's got some little claws there in the front. And so since the underbelly I hadn't accounted for paint job for that, I painted the underbelly with Nazdrag yellow, and I will probably paint the claws, that little horn and the ruff and the ridges along his back in that color as well. Once the contrast paint's dry, I'll go over the ruff and the ridges and his claws with Wraithbone, and then after I do the pallid bone on the bone itself, I will do all the rest of that in the Nazdrag yellow, so that'll go along with that. So I'm going to let this dry, and then we'll come back and do a little more work on them before we get to doing all that. So I'll see you in a bit. Bye. Alright, we've made some progress on our guy here. I did the Niblet green dry brush over the skin, and then went ahead and did the dragon scale. Which, if you're not familiar with this stuff, this came out back in the 80s from Ralpartha, and this is kind of a metallic, it's almost like eyeshadow consistently. And this just gave a little bit, just a very subtle metallic sheen to his scales, and I think it looks really good. So I'm going to go ahead and call that skin done, and I'm going to go over his nose horn, his ruff, and his ridges with the Wraithbone, and get ready to do those in the Nazdrag yellow and do his bone with the pallid bone color. I think that's going to look really fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and go do that, and then we'll come back and see how it looks. All right, see you in a bit. Bye. Alright, so now we've got the spines, ruff, and little horn, and his little claws in the front there, all done with the Nazdrag yellow and pallid bone, and that looks really good. So I'm going to let that dry, and then we're going to come back and do the bone itself with pallid bone. And then it's just a little detail work. We've got the base to do, the eyes and the mouth and the teeth, that kind of thing. And that's all going to be just regular paint. So once we get the bone and the base done, we'll be done with the contrast paints, and we'll move on from there. So see you in a little bit. I'm going to go, my camera's dying, so I'm going to go charge it, and then we'll come back and see how the pallid bone looks on the bone. See you in a bit. Bye. Alright, we are back. We've got his bone done, we've got his base done, and he's looking pretty spiffy. I'm pretty happy with how this guy's turning out. So Up next, I'm going to do his mouth, his little tongue sticking out there, and his teeth, and his eyes. So it's not going to take too long. I'm going to do his mouth first, and then we'll come back and see how he looks, and then we'll do his eyes. And take one last look at him before we put him in the diorama. So he's coming along pretty quick. See you in a little bit. Alright, I got his teeth and tongue done. Not a whole lot of detail in the teeth. His tongue was just too tiny to do the wash, so I just left it as murderous magenta. Little pink tongue sticking out there. So next up we're going to do his eyes, and his eyes are going to be based in Palomino gold, and then I'm going to go over them with Flash Gets Yellow to make them nice and bright. Although they almost look like they're closed right now. But yeah, we'll go ahead and do that, and then come back and see how it looks, and then go from there. See you in a bit. Alright, there we go. We've got his eyes done. And they look pretty spiff. I put a little extra orc green shade wash around them just to clean up the yellow a little bit. Because there's a tiny little beady eyes. May need to put a little more around that one. But yeah, for the most part, I'd say he's done. I'm going to go ahead and call him done. And we're going to put him in the diorama. So next time you see this guy, he's going to be in place in his finished diorama. See you soon. Bye. And there, boys and girls, is our finished lizard familiar in his natural habitat of the Wizard's Room diorama now. So we've got the table, the wizard, and the bookshelf left to do. Unfortunately, the lizard might be the last of the really short, easy videos. The table is up next, and it's going to be a little more involved. But I think it's going to be fun anyway. So join us next week, and we'll get into that. Thanks for watching. Bye. Hey Brass Monkeys, Tom from Flying Monkey Studios here. If you like what you see, click like. If you want to be notified when new videos come out, click subscribe. In the meantime, check out my other social medias on Instagram, Facebook, Hive, Tumblr, a couple others. I'm literally everywhere, Flying Monkey Studios. Go check that out. And thanks for watching. And in the meantime, I will see you guys later. Have a good day.